and welcome back to Legendary Lunacy. As always, I'm your host, Lord Papa Lunacy. Thank you for coming back. I'm alone again today. I just wanted to say, I think this story is going to be not as good as I remember it. Nothing against K.I. Simpson at all. It's just I remember loving all of these long lost episode creepypastas when I was a kid, and hearing some of them again, I feel like they're not nearly as they don't hold up to what I used to remember. So, I guess without further ado, we'll get right into this one. It's gonna be another short one for you guys. This is Dead Bart by K.I. Simpson. You know how Fox has a weird way of counting Simpsons episodes? They refuse to count a couple of them, making the amount of episodes inconsistent. The reason for this is, well, a lost episode from season 1. Finding details about this missing episode is difficult. No one who was working on the show at the time likes to talk about it. From what has been pieced together, the lost episode was written entirely by Matt Groening. During production for the first season, Matt started to act strangely. He was very quiet, seemed nervous and morbid. Mentioning this to anyone who was present results in him getting very angry, forbidding you from ever mentioning it to Matt. The episode's production number was 7G44, and the title was Dead Bart. In addition to getting angry, asking anyone who was on the show at the time will cause them to do everything they can to stop you from directly communicating with Matt Groening. At a fan event, I managed to follow him after he spoke to the crowd and eventually had a chance to talk to him alone as he was leaving the building. He didn't seem upset that I'd followed him, probably expecting a typical encounter with some obsessive fan. But when I mentioned the lost episode, though, all the color drained from his face and he started trembling. When I asked him if he could tell me any of the details, he sounded like he was on the verge of tears. He grabbed a piece of paper, wrote something on it, and handed it to me. He begged me to never mention this episode again. The piece of paper had a website address on it. I'd rather not say what it was, for reasons you'll see in a second. I entered the address into my browser, and I came to a site that was completely black, except for a line of yellow text. A download link. I clicked on it, and the file started downloading. And once the file was downloaded, my computer went crazy. It was the worst virus I had ever seen. System restore didn't work, the entire computer had to be rebooted. Before doing this, though, I copied the file onto a CD, and I tried to open it on my now empty computer. As I suspected, there was an episode of The Simpsons on it. The episode started off as any other episode. It had very poor quality animation. If you've seen the original animation for Some Enchanted Evening, it was similar, but less stable. The first act was fairly normal, but the way the characters acted was a little off. Homer seemed angrier, Marge seemed depressed, Lisa seemed anxious, and Bart seemed to have a genuine anger and hatred for his parents. The episode was about the Simpsons going on a plane trip. Near the end of the first act, the plane was taking off. Bart was fooling around, and that's what you would expect. However, as the plane was about 50 feet off the ground, Bart broke a window on the plane and was sucked out. At the beginning of the series, Matt had an idea that the animated style of The Simpsons world represented... life, that death turned things more realistic. This was used in that episode. The picture of Bart's corpse was barely recognizable. They took a full advantage of it, not having to move, and made it almost a photorealistic drawing of the dead body. Act 1 ended with a shot of Bart's corpse. When Act 2 started, Homer, Marge, and Lisa were sitting at their table crying. The crying went on and on. It got more pained, and it sounded more realistic. Better acting than you would think possible. The animation started to decay, even more as they cried. You could hear murmuring in the background. And his crying, it went on for all of Act 2. Act 3 opened with a title card saying 1 year later. 1 year had passed. Homer, Marge, and Lisa were skeletally thin. and still sitting at the table. There was no sign of Maggie or the pets. They decided to visit Bart's grave. Springfield was completely deserted. And as they walked into the cemetery, the houses became more decrepit. They all looked abandoned. When they got to the grave, Bart's body was just lying in front of the tombstone, looking like it did at the end of Act 1. The family started crying again, and eventually they stopped and just stared at Bart's corpse. The camera zoomed in on Homer's face. According to summaries, Homer tells a joke at this part, but it isn't audible in the version I saw. You can't tell what Homer is saying. The view zoomed out as the episode came to a close. The tombstones in the background had the names of every Simpsons guest star on them. Some that no one had heard of in 1989. Some that haven't been on the show yet. All of them had death dates on them. For guests who died since, like Michael Jackson and George Harrison, the dates were when they would die. You can try to use the tombstones to predict the death of living Simpsons guest stars, but there's something odd about most of the ones who haven't died yet. All their deaths are listed as the same date. That's K.I. Simpson's dead Bart. Well, it's a little better than some of the other lost episodes that I remember reading about. Wasn't bad. It was pretty subtle. One thing that I do... Where was it at? I gotta find it. I got a little worried here. The crying went on and on. It got more pained and sounded more realistic. One thing that... And Creepcast talks about this in some of their... the Squidward suicide episode. A lot of these lost episodes are like... They talk about, everything was hyper realistic in the cartoon and stuff, and it's really cheesy looking back on it. But yeah, so that is Dead Bart, the Creepypasta. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I had fun reading it for you. Squidward suicide popped up. Speak of the devil. He's staring at me. He's staring at me real good right there. Terrifying. Oh, Jesus. Hi, Mr. Smile. Terrifying. And Ben Drought. Cool, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up tonight. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will check at you next time. Stay tuned. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Oh, sit back, relax, and enjoy the darkness around you. I almost forgot to say my catchphrase. I am such a ditz. Good night, guys.